Hi guys, and welcome back to Cooking on a Narrowboat. Yes, I'm back in the kitchen, and today I'm going to make samosas. I'm not going to make a vegetarian version. I'm going to actually put chicken in mine, because I like chicken samosas. And I'm making them for me today, because it is my birthday. Yes, I'm 62 today. Second birthday in lockdown. Oh dear. I guess one day perhaps I'll get a birthday that I can go and have a beer. Well, today I'm going to have a beer later anyway. But that's for later on. Can't have a beer yet. I've got some cooking to do. So this is how I make my samosas. Well, I've just weighed out 260 grams of plain flour, or if you're American, all-purpose flour. I see the scales have just turned themselves off, and I weighed it out before I actually started because I suddenly realised that I might not have enough flour on the boat and I'd have to go and get some more. So I weighed it out quickly before I started filming just to make sure I had enough, which I do. I have 260 grams in the jug. I use the measuring jug because it's lighter to sit on the scales and I don't have a small plastic bowl. So that's the flour weighed out. I do of course have a large plastic bowl, which has a large mixing bowl, and I'm going to sift this flour into there. So here we go. I'm glad I'm sifting it. I can see quite a few lumps in this flour. I'm just going to use a spoon to knock those lumps down and push it through the sieve. There we go. Flour sifted. To my flour, I need to add 1 teaspoonful of Ajwan seeds, if that's the correct pronunciation. And in my fancy salt cellar here, 1/4 teaspoonful of salt. Yes, it is an egg cup. So my measuring spoons here. 1 teaspoon. Let's get the lid off of here. Here we go. 1 teaspoonful of Ajwan seeds and 1/4 teaspoonful of salt. I also need 4 tablespoons and 1 teaspoon of sunflower or vegetable oil. So, tablespoon, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a teaspoon. There we go. Now we're just going to mix this in with a metal spoon. And now to add the water. It says to add approximately 6 tablespoons of water. I'm going to add 5 to start off with. And see how we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll check, we might have to add another one yet, but I've noticed when I've made this before in the past that sometimes 5 is enough. I think it depends on how dry the flour is really. Then we're going to get our fingers mucky. You need it to come together fairly well, and this does need some more water, so I'm going to add another tablespoon of water. And see how we go. I have known to actually have to use 8 tablespoons before now to get the consistency right, so it really does depend on the flour. This is still too dry. We need it so it'll roll quite easily, so we're going to add yet another tablespoon of water. That's starting to feel better. You don't want it sticky, but you do need it to come together, which it is doing now quite nicely. Yes, I think that should roll out quite nicely now. I'm just going to make that into a ball. I'm going to cover it with cling film and put it in the fridge for about 20 minutes to half an hour, just to firm it up. Yes. There we go, wrapped up into the fridge, and we'll come back in about half an hour. I'm just starting to prepare the mixture which goes inside my samosas, and the recipe calls for 500 to 550 grams of potatoes. Well, I had about 520 grams before I peeled them. Now I'm down to 429 grams. I don't know if you can see that on the scales there. But that's going to be enough for me, because I changed the recipe here slightly from here onwards, and I like to add some onion to mine. So I'm going to dice up also very finely an onion and add into mine, which is not part of the original recipe, but I like onion in it. And I'm also going to add some frozen peas, which is optional also. So I've found if I'm slightly lower on the potato, the amount of filling I make is still ample to make the samosas with. And also, I'm not going to mash mine. I'm going to cut them up into very small dices, so you keep those tiny little bits of potato in there, which is just the way I like it. So now to dice up the potatoes. I've just started dicing up the potatoes here. I've got some cold water here ready to put them in. Now, the recipe calls to mashed potatoes. I actually like them diced up very small, and I do them this way. I just take my potatoes and chop them up finely. They look a bit like those disgusting French fries you get in McDonald's there, don't they? Not for long. Do you know, it's my second consecutive birthday I haven't been able to go to the pub or eat out on because we've been in lockdown. Still, at least I know how to cook. I'll probably make better food than the pub would anyway. So I'm going to carry on dicing these up, and I'll come back to you when they're finished. I have now chopped up all my potatoes into small pieces, as you can see there. I'm now going to cook them for a few minutes just to soften them. I'm going to add a little salt to the water as well, just to season them. So here goes. And add about a teaspoonful of sea salt. And then we're just going to bring them to the boil and until they're soft. And I'll carry on with the rest of the stuff in a moment. I've got a cup here, and it's not far off actually the measurement of a cup, which I know is very much used in America, cup measurements. There's some cheap peas from Tesco's, just their cheapest brand, doesn't really matter. And I have 1 cup of peas. And there we have 1 cup of peas going to go into my bowl, which is going to have all my ingredients in. Put the peas back in the freezer. Now I'm going to chop up 1 small red onion, or medium red onion. As I said, I like a little onion in mine. It's not traditional, I know, but I like it. So I'm going to dice this up very fine, just like I did the potato. making sure I'm taking off plenty of the outer skin of the onion. I don't want any tough bits, so I'm taking off probably an extra layer to what you would normally. Here goes. And I'm going to add this onion in with the peas. Bits look a bit big. I'm just going to chop up a bit more. I'm just going to bring some water to the boil as well. My potatoes are just starting to come to the boil here. I'm cooking them in very little water actually, because when I drain them, I do actually want to keep some of that starchiness from the potatoes, because it's going to help bind everything together. So I'm going to turn them down. Now for me to continue making some more of the filling. As I said, I'm making chicken ones. This, of course, most of them really should be vegetarian, but I like chicken in mine. I also like lamb in mine. So I have one cooked chicken breast here. It was a whole chicken I cooked yesterday. And I'm just using leftover breast. But it's just like everything else, I'm going to chop up into small pieces. Of course, if you want to keep this vegetarian, just mistake the chicken. In actual fact, I believe it's vegan, because there's nothing, no animal products in it besides this chicken I'm adding. Here's something I didn't know until, well, I've known a little while now, that we all associate samosas with Indian cuisine. I certainly did. Do you know that possibly that's not where they originate from? The story of it seems to be they probably started in North Africa, moved across to Eastern and Central Asia, and then on to India. Of course, it is in India they were very much popularized. I'm probably going to end up with too much filling for the amount of dough I've made, which is fine by me. I'll eat it with a spoon. So here's my chicken, which we're also going to add, not yet into the mixture, because I have something to do with this mixture first. So I'm going to put the chicken there slightly to one side. Always tight for space on a narrowboat. And I have a large galley. What I'll do is take some very hot water and pour over the top on my peas and onion. I'm just going to stir them in and leave them in there for a few minutes. This is going to take some of the rawness of the onion away and slightly cook the peas. In fact, I might change the water because the peas were very frozen. So I'm just going to drain those off. Put them back into the bowl. and add some more hot water. Now they're steaming because the peas are now defrosted. I'll just leave them there for a few minutes. The onion should start to go slightly opaque. I'm going to now drain off this. I've just tasted a little piece of the onion. The rawness has gone off of it and it's just starting to soften slightly. It's just as I wanted it. So I'm now going to drain them off and put them back into my bowl. I'm now going to add my chicken. And my potatoes, as you can see, are cooked now, and they're very gloopy sort of thing, because I had very little water in there and there's a lot of starch. I'm just going to slightly drain them off, but I do want to keep some of that starchiness. So I'm going to get those into there, like so. I can mix all that in together. The hot potatoes also right now will, you can see they're nice and sticky. They will actually help cook that onion and all a little bit more. Now that actually would taste quite good as it is, but of course we need to add some spices. So here goes, let's add some spices. First one I'm going to add is 1 teaspoonful of cumin seeds, 1 teaspoonful of fennel seeds. Now we need 2 teaspoonfuls of coriander seeds, but we need to crush those up. So we're going to put those in the pestle and mortar. I'm not going to use the spice grinder just for this. So here we go, we're just going to grind these up in the pestle and mortar. Let's just move that out of the way a little bit. I don't particularly need them into a powder, I just need them so they're not whole and crushed basically. I think I'm just about getting in there. I can't feel any whole ones rolling along the bottom of my pestle. Smells absolutely wonderful. That's going to do perfectly. Just bring that back in, and we're going to add this coriander. We just added the coriander. Now this recipe calls for finely chopped ginger. I'm going to be lazy. I'm using this ginger puree. It's hard to keep fresh ginger on the boat, and it's hard to get it sometimes in the little stores I'm in. So I'm going to add half a teaspoonful of that ginger puree, like so. Now we need 1/4 teaspoonful of asafoetida, quarter teaspoonful. This stuff stinks. We need half a teaspoonful of garam masala. This I make my own. So half a teaspoonful of garam masala. And now this is entirely up to you how hot you want to make them. I am going to add just 1/4 teaspoonful of chili powder. My chili powder is quite hot, but I'm going to make it a heat one. So in goes the chili powder. That's my homemade chili powder. Now this should also have like 1 very small green chili chopped up into it. I don't actually have any on the boat at the moment, but I do have some green capsicum pepper, and I'm just going to take a small bit of that and chop up instead, because really it's for colour more than flavour, because we've already got the chili powder in there. I'm just going to chop this up finely. So you can always add a bit more chili powder if you want it hotter. You don't need to really be adding fresh green chilies. And I didn't have any. I forgot to buy some, so that's how come I don't have any. My fault. But just I'm going to just add that tiny little bit of capsicum in there, or bell pepper, whatever you want to call it. I've just realised I made a faux pas. What I should have done was fried off the cumin seeds, the fennel seeds, and the crushed coriander in some hot oil to bring out the flavours. Yes. Oh well. We'll have to see how it tastes, won't we? I can't exactly take them back out, and I don't have all the ingredients to make it again. And I certainly don't want to throw it away. So, if you're making this, please fry off your seeds before you add them to it. I need shooting, I know. I'll never make a chef. The only other thing left to add to this is half a teaspoonful of salt. It says 3/4 of a teaspoon actually in the recipe I use, but because I've already added salt to the potatoes when I cook them, I find it doesn't need so much, so I use half a teaspoon. And now I'm going to incorporate all that together. Oh, I wish this was smell-o-vision. This smells absolutely wonderful. All those spices in there, absolutely wonderful. Now what we can do, if you think that looks a bit bland and all that, we can change the colour slightly by adding a little paprika, which just colours it up a little bit, and also a little turmeric, not too much. Now I've seen these added to some recipes, but I don't think it's traditional. So it's entirely up to you, but I make it the way I like it. And that just gives us a little bit more flavour and a little bit more colour, which when it's cooked, I think just looks nicer. And I think that looks absolutely wonderful. And I'm even going to lick the spoon. Wow, that's good. Right, so I've just been cleaning the decks down, made some space, made some room so we can get on. So here's our dough. I'm just going to take it out and give it a bit of a knead, because I need it, I need it. I don't want to overwork it, but it's just to make sure it's all well combined before we use it. It feels nice. There we go. Now the recipe calls to cut this into 7 pieces. I've always found cutting anything into 7 equal pieces a bit awkward. So I'm going to go 8. It just means that my samosas will be slightly smaller. That's all, but I find when I do it into 8, it works quite well. So I'm just going to make those into little balls. We don't want this to dry out. So put them into little balls, like so, while I'm working them. This dough with the Aswan seeds in it absolutely smells beautiful. go. Just make those into 8 little balls. Just going to take a bowl here, put them into there, keep them together. Just take some kitchen paper here, damp it slightly, squeeze the water out, unwrap it again, and I'm just going to put that over the bowl to stop the dough from drying out while I'm working it. And I've cleaned my top down. What I'm going to do is just put a tiny little bit of oil onto it. So I'm just going to rub across here to make it oily. We don't want to use flour as a releasing agent. It makes it rather mucky. We'll take our ball, put it down like so. Take our rolling pin, and we'll roll it so it's about 6 inches in diameter or so. Trying to keep it fairly round. Then I'll take a knife and cut it in half. Not cutting my worktops. Should release up. Yeah, look at that, it comes up quite nicely. Like so. I need another bowl with a little water in. And I'm also going to add a little flour to it. I'm basically going to make a flour glue. I'm just going to mix that into there. Doesn't matter, you're not cooking with this, I'm just using it as like a floury paste. There we go, that's how I want it. I remember as kids making flour glue. This is basically the same. I'm going to take this and down one edge, put some of my floury glue, we'll pick it up, and keep this, and we're going to make it into a cone. Then we're taking our mixture and we're going to fill it in. Don't want to overfill it because we need to be able to fold this back up over again. I'll take a plate and I'll set them on a plate ready for frying. Once again, I don't want them to dry out. I'll take another wet paper towel and we're just going to put that over the top. I've just put the oil on here to start warming up. I'm going to turn it down low. So I just want it on a very low heat while I continue making some samosas. Here's my first batch ready for frying. I was getting a little bit better towards the end in the shapes. A long time since I've made them, so I started to remember how to fold them properly. We'll get this frying off in a moment. Our oil's warming up. Now you fry these in the coolest flame you can put on the oil, which was what I've done. I'll start putting them in gently. I'm doing 8 to start off with, and I should be making 16 in total, I think. So 8 in there. So here we have it. I made 16 samosas. Some are slightly better shaped than the others, but I'm no expert. I do think though the first ones I made, the oil was a little cooler. I hadn't cooled it down enough when I put the second batch in. They've gone a little bit bubbly, but I'm pretty sure they will taste perfectly okay. So I guess the proof is in the pudding. I better try one. So here goes. The pastry is lovely and crisp, just as it should be. Just look at that. I made these quite mild because I'm going to have somebody else having some of them. So there is a chili kick there, but nothing crazy. Where I forgot to fry off the fennel seeds and the cumin seeds, it still actually tastes very good. And taste all those flavours. Just, oh. That is just delicious. Happy birthday to me. Oh, yummy, yummy. So, thank you all for watching. Goodbye for now.